You've already manifested everything you desire in your life. Yes, you heard that right. At this very moment, everything you've asked the universe for has already been delivered. The problem isn't that your manifestations didn't work. The problem is that you didn't recognize the signs that they arrived. Joe Dispenza discovered something that will change everything for you. 97% of people cancel their own manifestations because they don't know when they've already happened. Just imagine. How many blessings have you let slip by because you were expecting them to arrive in a completely different way? And here are the 3 signs you need to recognize. First, when your manifestation is coming, you're going to feel worse before you feel better. Anxiety, old fears, emotional turbulence that seems to be sabotaging everything. Second, impossible coincidences start happening. You think of a person and they call you. You need something and it appears out of nowhere. And third, the craziest of all, you literally become a different person without realizing it, acting as if you already have what you manifested even before it arrives. But here's what will shock you. Most people see these signs as problems or bad luck. They resist the first one, ignore the second, and don't even notice the third. And that's how they cancel manifestations that were already ready to arrive. If you feel like something bigger is trying to enter your life, if strange things have been happening that you can't explain, or if you simply know it's time to awaken to your power, then your soul brought you here. And if you want to connect with this energy we're about to awaken, subscribe to the channel now and tell me in the comments which manifestation you most want to recognize in your life. Write just one word. It could be money, love, health, or whatever is in your heart. This simple action already begins to shift your frequency. Because here's the truth that Joe Dispenza discovered. Manifestation isn't about forcing the universe to give you something. It's about perceiving what has already been created for you. And the signs you're going to learn are like 3 magic keys that unlock this perception. Get ready to see your life with new eyes. Get ready to recognize miracles that are already happening. And get ready to never doubt your power again. Your transformation begins now. But first, let me tell you about Rachel. Rachel was one of the participants in the 18-month study I conducted on manifestation patterns. A 34-year-old high school teacher living in Austin, Texas, she had been focusing on attracting a healthy relationship for 8 months. She did all the practices, 20 minutes of daily meditation, detailed visualization before sleep, energy work 3 times a week, conscious affirmations. She was disciplined, committed, doing everything the books and courses taught. But then something completely unexpected happened. About a month before meeting her current partner, she entered an emotional turbulence that left her confused and scared. It was as if all the emotional wounds she thought she had healed came back to the surface with an intensity she hadn't experienced in years. She felt anxieties she hadn't had since her teens. She would wake up in the middle of the night with her heart racing for no apparent reason. During the day, she deeply questioned her self-worth, something she had worked on intensively in therapy. Fears about relationships that she thought she had overcome came back with full force. Fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of opening up and being rejected. "Maybe I'm not ready for this," she told me in a consultation with tears in her eyes. "It feels like I'm getting worse, not better. Maybe this whole manifestation thing is just my imagination. It seems like the more I try, the further I get from what I want." This is a phrase I hear constantly. Dedicated, sincere people who are doing everything right according to traditional teachings, but who feel like they're regressing emotionally and spiritually. This is when most people give up. Rachel almost did. She almost stopped the entire process. Fortunately, she continued. Because here's something that will sound completely crazy, but that Joe Dispenza has proven through neuroscience and field studies. When your manifestation is coming, you start to feel worse before you feel better. I know, it doesn't seem to make sense. It seems contradictory. But let me explain exactly why this happens and why it's actually the most reliable sign that you're on the right track. When you ask the universe for something through conscious manifestation, you're not just asking for an object, a person, or an experience. You're asking to become a different version of yourself. You're asking to expand your identity, your capacity to receive, your way of being in the world. The person you are today created the life you have today. Your current thought patterns, your beliefs about what's possible for you, your habitual emotional reactions, all of this formed the energetic field that attracted your current experiences. To have a new life, you literally need to become someone new at the deepest level. And this identity transformation always begins with an internal cleansing. It's as if the universe said, you want to receive unconditional love. First, we're going to release all the patterns that make you feel unworthy of love. You want financial abundance? Let's clean all the scarcity beliefs that are programmed in your subconscious. Joe Dispenza explains this through neuroplasticity and epigenetics. When you start manifesting consciously, you're literally asking your brain to create new neural networks. You're asking your genes to express new possibilities. You're asking your nervous system to recalibrate for a new reality. But here's what happens. Your current brain, your existing neural patterns, your conditioned nervous system will resist this change. They will protest because change, even positive change, is interpreted by the primitive survival system as a threat. That's why you feel this emotional turbulence. It's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because you're doing something very, very right. You're asking to evolve, and evolution always involves the symbolic death of who you were to give birth to who you're becoming. It's like when you're moving to a new house. Before you can put in new furniture, you need to take out the old, right? Before organizing the new home, you need to empty the old one. During this process, the house becomes a mess. It looks worse than before, but this temporary worsening is necessary for the new to be established. The universe does exactly the same thing with your inner life. Before you can receive the love you asked for, you need to release all the patterns that make you reject or sabotage love when it appears. Before receiving abundance, you need to let go of beliefs that you don't deserve it, that money is dirty, that rich people are bad. This cleansing happens through emotions. Emotions are energy in motion, emotion. When old patterns need to leave your system, they exit through emotional waves. Anxiety, sadness, anger, fear, these aren't your real emotions. They're old energies being released to make space for the new. Joe Dispenza always explains that you need to feel to heal. You can't just think positive and expect deep traumas to disappear. They need to be felt, accepted, and consciously released. And this happens naturally when you're manifesting authentically. But here's where most people completely sabotage themselves. When they feel this emotional turbulence, when old anxieties resurface, when they feel like they're regressing, they think, it's not working, I must be doing something wrong. And they stop exactly when they were at the most crucial moment of the process. It's like stopping surgery in the middle because it hurts. It's like stopping cleaning the house when it's at its messiest. It's like giving up on planting a seed because it hasn't become a tree yet. The truth that few understand is this. The more intense the emotional cleansing, the more powerful the manifestation being prepared for you. If you're going through mild emotional turbulence, you're probably manifesting something small. If the turbulence is intense, you're being prepared for something that will completely transform your life. It's like a storm before a beautiful sunny day. The more intense the storm, the cleaner the air afterward. The deeper the emotional cleansing, the more space you create to receive extraordinary blessings. This same pattern appeared in various other participants in the study I followed. The person is manifesting consciously, but before the realization appears, there's always this phase of intense emotional purification. It's as if the universe said, "You want this? Then let's clean everything that prevents you from sustaining it." So if you're going through emotionally difficult moments now, if old fears are returning, if you feel like you're being tested in all areas of life, take a deep breath. This isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is aligning perfectly. Rachel understood this when I explained what was happening to her. Instead of resisting the emotional turbulence, she made a courageous decision. She decided to embrace the process completely. She stopped trying to control or suppress the emotions that were arising. She allowed the old energies to be released from her system. She continued with her manifestation practices, but now with a completely different understanding. Instead of seeing difficult emotions as evidence of failure, she saw them as evidence that transformation was happening. Instead of resisting the crisis, she received it as preparation. She created what we call a sacred space for release. She would set aside specific moments of the day to simply feel what needed to be felt. She didn't try to fix the emotions. She didn't try to replace them with positive thoughts. She simply received them with compassion, like a mother would receive a scared child. And here's the secret that Joe Dispenza teaches, and that changed everything for Rachel. Don't fight against this emotional cleansing. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to accelerate it. Simply allow it. Breathe through it. Trust that your internal system knows exactly what it's doing. Your body, your mind, your soul, all of this is infinitely more intelligent than your conscious mind can comprehend. When you ask to evolve, to manifest, to become more than you are, you activate an internal wisdom that knows exactly how to prepare you to receive what you asked for. It's like trusting the digestion process. You don't consciously control how your stomach breaks down food. You simply eat and trust that your body knows what to do. Manifestation works the same way. You do your part, visualize, feel, align your energy, and then trust that the internal process knows how to prepare you to receive. 4 weeks after that conversation, Rachel met Michael in a completely natural and organic situation. She was in a bookstore looking for a personal growth book she had seen recommended online. At the same time, Michael was in the same section, browsing through exactly the same book. They started talking about the book. The conversation naturally flowed to other topics. They discovered they had several things in common, and he invited her for coffee. What started as a casual encounter developed into a deep and authentic connection. When I saw him, something inside me recognized him, she told me 6 months later, already in a solid and happy relationship. It wasn't love at first sight or anything dramatic like that. It was more a sensation of familiarity, like I already knew he was going to appear in my life. But here's the most fascinating part of Rachel's account. All that emotional turbulence I felt before made total sense afterward. I needed to clean my energetic field, to have space to receive so much love. I needed to release all the fears about relationships, to be able to open myself completely to him. She continued, "If I had met Michael before that emotional cleansing, I probably would have sabotaged everything. I would have let my fears and insecurities interfere. But when I met him, I was clean, clear, ready to receive what I had asked for. And then something even more fascinating began to appear in my studies. 3 months after Rachel's case, I started noticing a second pattern that consistently emerged in people who were close to manifesting something significant. It was something so subtle that most didn't even consciously perceive it, but when you knew what to look for, it was impossible to ignore. When someone was really close to manifesting something important, coincidences began appearing in that person's life in a way that was almost impossible to ignore. These weren't small or occasional coincidences. They were synchronicities so precise, so perfectly aligned, that they defied any rational explanation. Suddenly, accidents start multiplying exponentially in your life. You think of a specific person, and they send you a message that same day. You need very specific information, and someone mentions exactly that in a casual conversation. You're looking for a solution to a particular problem, and it appears out of nowhere in the most unexpected place. You turn on the radio, and the song that plays is exactly about what you were thinking. You open a book to a random page, and the sentence you read answers a question you had in mind. You go to a place you never frequent, and encounter exactly the opportunity you were seeking. At first, these synchronicities might seem curious, interesting, but not necessarily significant. But as they intensify, and they always intensify when a manifestation is approaching, it becomes impossible to dismiss everything as mere coincidence. Joe Dispenza discovered something fascinating about this phenomenon through his studies in neuroscience and quantum physics. When you raise your vibrational frequency through conscious and consistent manifestation, you literally start vibrating at a different frequency. And this new frequency tunes you into what he calls the field of infinite possibilities, or quantum field. This field contains all the possibilities that exist for your life. All the relationships you could have, all the professional opportunities that are available, all the experiences that are possible for you. Everything exists simultaneously in this field of pure potential. Most people can't access these possibilities because they're vibrating at a frequency of limitation, fear, doubt. But when you manifest consciously, when you raise your vibration through consistent practices, you start tuning into higher frequencies. And at these higher frequencies, you gain access to possibilities that were invisible before. And this quantum field communicates with you through events that your linear mind interprets as coincidences. But they're not coincidences in the casual sense of the word. They're synchronicities, perfect alignments between your internal intention and external events. This is how the universe guides you to your manifestation. It's not going to put a giant neon sign in front of you saying, "Here is your realized dream." Instead, it will orchestrate a series of apparently casual events that will naturally lead you to where you need to be, to meet who you need to meet, to discover what you need to discover. It might make you miss the bus you always catch, forcing you to take a different path where you find the opportunity you were looking for. It might make your phone die at the exact moment you need to stop and pay attention to what's happening around you. It might make you choose a different route home and pass by a place where you see exactly the information you needed. These are the elegant and natural ways the universe works. It doesn't violate the laws of physics. It simply uses them in ways our linear mind can't fully comprehend. And the more you pay attention to these coincidences, the more they happen. It's as if the universe said, "Ah, you're awake now, you're paying attention to the signs, great, I'll intensify the communication." This happens because recognizing synchronicities is an act of faith. It's a recognition that there's a greater intelligence operating in your life. And this faith, this recognition, this openness to life's mystery, all of this raises your vibrational frequency even more. It's a virtuous cycle. The more you recognize synchronicities, the more your vibration rises. The more your vibration rises, the more synchronicities happen. The more synchronicities happen, the more you trust the process. The more you trust, the more you allow yourself to receive. These synchronicities are actually the universe reorganizing physical reality to align with your new vibrational frequency. It's as if the entire network of possibilities began moving to create the perfect conditions for your manifestation to realize. It's the most elegant and natural way to guide you to where you need to be. It's not dramatic, it's not forced, it's organic, fluid, natural, as if all of life were a cosmic dance and you had finally learned the steps. The trick to recognizing these synchronicities is to develop what Joe Dispenza calls peripheral awareness or expanded vision. Instead of obsessively focusing only on the specific object you want to manifest, you expand your perception to notice the subtle patterns emerging around you. You stop searching in a linear and direct way and start perceiving intuitively and holistically. You notice the themes that repeat in different conversations, the people who appear multiple times in different contexts, the opportunities that arise out of nowhere but connect perfectly with what you were seeking. You notice the bad luck that are actually disguised good fortune, the traffic that made you late but saved you from a bigger problem, the last-minute cancellation that opened space for something much better, the disappointment that was actually divine redirection. You develop a sensitivity to perceive when life is guiding you subtly but determinedly in a specific direction. And instead of resisting this guidance, you learn to flow with it, to dance with it, to trust it. But here's where many people get completely lost. They expect synchronicities to be obvious, dramatic, impossible to ignore. They want the universe to be like a Hollywood movie with special effects and epic revelation moments. But the universe is much more elegant and subtle than that. It works through naturalness, organicity, the normal flow of life. It hides the extraordinary within the ordinary. It camouflages miracles as casual coincidences. Your manifestation might come through a casual conversation in an elevator with someone you'd never seen before. From a book someone forgot on a park bench that contains exactly the information you needed. From an email that ended up in spam, but you decided to check on an inexplicable intuition. The universe might use a wrong number to connect you with the right person. It might use a mistake in your food order to make you discover a dish that transforms your health. It might use a technical problem with your flight to make you meet someone at the airport who changes the course of your career. It uses the common, the everyday, the apparently insignificant to deliver the extraordinary, the transformative, the miraculous. It's your ability to perceive the sacred in the mundane that determines how many blessings you can recognize and receive. And you know what's the most impressive part of all this? When you train your perception for these subtleties, when you develop this sensitivity to synchronicities, you start to realize that nothing in your life is really casual or accidental. Everything is interconnected. Every person you meet is there for a reason. Every situation you live has a purpose. Every experience you have is preparing you for something or teaching you something you need to know. You start seeing your life as a complex and beautiful tapestry, where each thread, even the apparently unimportant ones, contributes to the larger design. You realize there's a loving and wise intelligence constantly operating behind the scenes of your existence. Every person who crosses your path is bringing you closer to the version of reality you ask to experience. Every challenge you face is strengthening you to sustain the blessings that are on their way. Every lesson you learn is preparing you for the next level of your evolution. Joe Dispenza always emphasizes, when you change your energy, you change your life. And the first thing that visibly changes are the synchronicities. Synchronicities are the thermometer of your vibrational frequency. The more aligned you are with what you want to manifest, the more synchronicities appear. If you're noticing few coincidences in your life, it might be a sign that you need to raise your vibration, intensify your practices, or expand your perception. If you're noticing many synchronicities, it's a sign that you're on the right track and your manifestations are approaching. So observe consciously. What coincidences have been happening in your life lately? What casual encounters have you had? What opportunities have emerged out of nowhere? What information has reached you in unexpected ways? What doors have opened when others closed? Write down these synchronicities. Keep a journal of them. Celebrate each one. Be grateful for every sign the universe sends you. This attention and gratitude amplify the phenomenon exponentially. The question isn't whether these things are coincidences or synchronicities. The question is, are you paying enough attention to recognize the cosmic symphony being played especially for you? Are you developing the sensitivity needed to perceive how life is conspiring in your favor? But there's something even deeper and more transformative happening when a manifestation is really approaching. And it was exactly what most impressed me in Rachel's case and in other participants in the study I followed. About 2 months before meeting Michael at the bookstore, Rachel started acting completely differently regarding relationships, but she didn't have full awareness of this change. It was as if a silent transformation was happening at the deepest level of her identity. She stopped compulsively checking dating apps. Before, she would check Tinder and other apps several times a day, always searching, always expecting. But suddenly she simply lost interest. It wasn't a conscious decision. It simply happened. She started making weekend plans without worrying if she was missing opportunities to meet someone. Before, every social decision was filtered through the question, will I meet someone interesting there? But now she chose activities based on what she really wanted to do, not on the romantic potential of the situation. She arranged her apartment thinking about the comfort of 2 people, not just herself. She bought extra plates and glasses. She organized the closet, leaving space for someone else's clothes. She replaced the single bed with a double. Practical changes that indicated unconscious preparation. But the most interesting thing of all, she wasn't forcing any of these behaviors. They weren't rational choices based on manifestation strategies. They emerged naturally, organically, as if they were the most obvious and natural thing in the world. It was as if at some deep and unconscious level, she already knew that love was coming. As if a part of her was already living the reality of the relationship, even though her conscious mind still couldn't see it. When her manifestation finally arrived, the encounter with Michael at the bookstore, Rachel wasn't shocked, surprised, or euphoric. Her reaction was much more subtle and profound. She simply thought, of course it was time, as if that was inevitable, natural, something she always knew would happen. This naturalness, this absence of surprise, this sensation of finally instead of wow, how incredible, this is the trademark of a genuine and deep manifestation. You start acting, speaking, and behaving as if you already had what you manifested, and this happens completely spontaneously. without you forcing anything. It's the identity transformation happening at the deepest and most unconscious level. Joe Dispenza explains this phenomenon through neuroplasticity and identity change at the cellular level. He teaches that true manifestation isn't about receiving external things or experiences. It's about becoming a completely different person, the person for whom these things and experiences are natural, normal, inevitable. And this identity transformation always happens first internally, at the level of consciousness, neural patterns, genetic expression. Your way of being in the world changes before your external circumstances change. It's as if you graduated internally to a new level of reality before that level manifested externally. You become the person who lives this new reality before you start living this new reality in the physical world. Think of a simple analogy. When you're learning to drive, at first you need to consciously think about every movement. Foot on the clutch, hand on the gear shift, eye on the rearview mirror, check the mirrors, signal before turning. Each action requires conscious attention and effort. But after driving for a while, these movements become automatic. You drive without consciously thinking about each step. Your body, your mind, your nervous system have completely integrated the ability to drive. You became someone who drives at the deepest level. The same thing happens with manifestation. At first, you need to force feelings of abundance, love, or health. You need to consciously remember to behave like someone prosperous, loved, or healthy. Each action aligned with your manifestation requires conscious effort and intention. But when manifestation is really approaching, these feelings and behaviors become natural, automatic, an integral part of who you are. You simply are abundant. You're not trying to be abundant. You naturally act like someone loved. You're not pretending to be loved. You spontaneously choose things that nourish your health. You're not forcing yourself to be healthy. In all the cases I followed during these 18 months of research, this pattern repeated with impressive precision. Of the 47 people who completed the study, 43 of them went through this same identity transformation before the external manifestation appeared. It was a subtle but completely revolutionary change. Joe Dispenza always emphasizes, you can't create a new life being the same person. To create a new reality, you must become a new identity. And this new identity always emerges first internally, through subtle but profound changes in how you think, feel, speak, and act. What's fascinating is that these changes are rarely dramatic or sudden. You don't wake up one day being a completely different person. It's more like a gradual and organic evolution. You simply realize, looking back after a few weeks or months, that you don't act like the person you were before. If you're manifesting financial abundance, you realize you stopped thinking about money obsessively. If you're manifesting a relationship, you stop constantly worrying about being alone. If you're manifesting health, you naturally start choosing foods and activities that make you feel vibrant. It's like stopping swimming against the current and starting to flow with it. Life becomes easier, more fluid, more natural. Not because problems magically disappeared, but because you developed a new way of being that's aligned with what you want to experience. You stop living in the energy of lack and start living in the energy of abundance. You stop operating from fear and start operating from love. You stop reacting to circumstances and start consciously creating your experiences. And here's the clearest indicator that this identity transformation has happened. Other people start commenting on changes in you, even though you haven't said anything about manifestation or personal growth. You're different, they say, more confident, more peaceful, more radiant, more centered. They feel your new vibrational frequency before you even have full awareness of the change that happened. This happens because identity change is energetic change. And energetic change is perceptible to other people, even unconsciously. Your literal energy field changes when you evolve internally. So observe consciously. How have you been behaving lately regarding what you're manifesting? What subtle changes do you notice in how you react to situations? How do you talk about your life? How do you position yourself in the world? Are you still trying to attract something? Or are you already being someone for whom that is natural? Do you still speak from lack? Or do you already speak from abundance? Do you still act like someone who doesn't have? Or do you already act like someone who chooses? If you realize that naturally, without effort, you act like someone who already has what you manifested, celebrate deeply. This is the most reliable sign that your manifestation isn't just coming. It has already become an integral part of who you are. External manifestation is just the physical reflection of an internal transformation that has already happened. When you become the person, external reality reorganizes to correspond to this new identity. And now comes the most important question of all. How do you live from this new awareness? How do you integrate this knowledge so that your life becomes a continuous and natural flow of manifestations? The answer lies in understanding that recognizing these three signs is just the beginning of a completely new way of existing. True power emerges when you develop what Joe Dispenza calls quantum consciousness, the ability to live simultaneously in the physical present and in the future you're consciously creating. This means stopping dividing your life into before manifestation and after manifestation. Instead, you start living as if manifesting were as natural and automatic as breathing, as if consciously creating your reality were simply your normal way of existing. When you feel the signs of emotional purification, instead of resisting or getting scared, you take a deep breath and think with gratitude. Perfect. I'm being energetically prepared for something even greater than I can imagine. When you notice synchronicities multiplying instead of dismissing them as coincidence or ignoring them due to distraction, you consciously give thanks and become even more attentive and receptive to the next signs the universe is sending. When you notice the subtle transformation of your identity, instead of doubting or minimizing, you completely embrace this new version of yourself, honoring the person you're becoming. This is the fundamental difference between someone who manifests occasionally and someone who lives in a permanent state of conscious creation. The first person treats manifestation as a specific project with beginning, middle, and end. The second understands that manifestation is a way of being, a way of living, a natural state of existence. When you completely integrate this awareness, something extraordinary happens. You stop trying to manifest and start being manifestation. Your entire life becomes a continuous expression of your conscious creative power. Every word you speak is aligned with the reality you want to create. Every action you take is in harmony with the highest version of yourself. Every choice you make reflects the vibrational frequency of what you want to experience. You no longer need to do manifestation as a separate practice because you are manifestation as an integrated state of being. You no longer need to try to raise your vibration because you naturally vibrate at the frequency of love, abundance, and possibility. Joe Dispenza always teaches, become so aware of your creative power that you never create unconsciously again. And when you recognize and honor the signs you learned today, you develop exactly this conscious mastery. You become someone who creates life intentionally, not by accident. Someone who manifests from abundance, not from lack. Someone who lives in love, not in fear. Someone who trusts life's flow instead of trying to control every detail. Your journey as a completely conscious and integrated manifester is just beginning. You now have the keys to recognize when the universe is delivering exactly what you asked for. More than that, you have the tools to become someone who lives in a continuous state of conscious receiving. Use this knowledge with deep wisdom, with genuine gratitude, and with absolute certainty that you are a powerful co-creator of your own reality. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are not hostage to chance. You are a conscious being with the divine capacity to shape your experience through the quality of your internal energy. If this message resonated deeply in your heart, if you recognized some of these signs happening in your life right now, tell me in the comments which sign impacted you most. Was it the emotional purification that made you understand why you've been feeling so much turbulence? Was it the synchronicities that made you realize how many coincidences you might have missed? Or was it the identity transformation that made you recognize subtle changes in how you've been behaving? And if you want to continue exploring the deepest mysteries of conscious manifestation, if you want to develop even more this sensitivity to the universe's signs, subscribe to the channel. Because we have an incredible journey of discovery and transformation ahead. Always remember this fundamental truth. You're not waiting for your manifestations to arrive from the outside. You're learning to recognize that they've already arrived and are unfolding perfectly through the signs that life constantly sends you. And this difference in perception changes absolutely everything in your reality experience. Your new life awaits you. Your highest version is calling. And now you have the wisdom to recognize exactly when they appear.